Hey y'all, it's Wendy Johnson with Drive Across Texas, and we have a great story to share with you today. I'm going to introduce you to Mike Moore with More Time Ranch, and he has it's an amazing program and a great story to share that helps lots of people, lots of families, lots of kids. So I know I'm not going to be able to tell it like you do, so I want to hear your story.
Goes back to about 2014, really. Was working in a local church. It's the Avenue Church right here in Waxahachie, and had been involved in a bunch of different things within the church, different types of ministries and stuff. But one of my closest friends, in fact, my best friend Jeremy, kind of roped me in. I hate to say that, but he really did, and said, "Look, we really need help on Wednesday nights. It's a really easy group of kids, 16, 17, 18-year-old boys." And of course, I'm thinking, okay, really easy group of kids. I have 5 kids myself. I've got a 31-year-old son, 30-year-old daughter, 23-year-old daughter, 14-year-old son, 12-year-old daughter. So you're going to tell me it's a really easy group of kids.
You've already been through that age group a couple of times.
Yeah, teenage and boys, and I'm thinking, okay, no problem. But felt like, go ahead, we'll just take on this challenge and see where God leads us. So many of these kids would come to us, and there weren't your stereotypical kids. And I say, not to stereotype a kid as all kids are bad, all kids are good. These were kids that are in church. These were kids that came from, in some cases, great homes. Yeah. We also dealt with kids from single homes. The parents had passed. Some of them were raised in an incredible home, had great opportunities to get a great upbringing, but they just had social challenges and some situations that really set them apart from other people. Sometimes you didn't know. There was such a front they were putting on for the parents, for church, whoever it was, that you really couldn't dig deep enough to find out what was going on. Yeah. So we really just kind of tuned in and poured into these kids and wanted to try and share with them what the love of Christ was. And by doing that, week after week, we start to get more involved with these kids. And it just amazed me. The whole time when I got into it, I kept thinking, oh man, what can I do to bless these kids? What can I do to bless these kids? And every week I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. The blessings seem to be pouring out on me. Jeremy and I were just sitting there pouring into these kids, and we're going, oh my gosh, this is what they need. This is their safe zone. They can tell he and I what they might not be able to tell their parents or their teachers or the counselors. Yeah. Some were getting aid at that point in time. Some of the challenges were as simple as, I'm a little socially awkward. Some of them were to the point of they were questioning whether or not they wanted to be alive. And we dealt with those situations. We had a couple kids that had attempted prior to take their life, and some that had already been in discussion with it. And most people who do, from our experience, don't really talk about it up front. Yeah. So when they talk about it, they're crying for help, and we wanted to try and help any way we can. Every time I would go to serve every week, something just didn't feel right for the next year or two. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then finally, a couple years later, it was September 2017, can tell you like it was yesterday, God just really tugged on my heart and said, there's something missing, and here's what it is. You need to leave your legacy of me working through you and other men by mentoring young boys. Did a lot of scientific research to pick the most difficult time you could possibly pick in a young man's life. That was also the most influential time. And try and address that time frame and see what we could do to have a positive impact in their life. So we formed the company and decided we were going to move forward with this and prayed a lot about it. And then God laid a bigger challenge on my heart and said, well, at some point you're going to need a place to do this. Yeah. And said, I think you need to try and find some place and create this actual camp scenario where you have kids come from a weekend, not just a night, at church or something, but an absolute weekend camp. And then if you're going to go ahead and have this weekend camp to mentor to them one-on-one, then you're going to need to follow up on it. Yeah. Because some may come in at 13 and you want to take them all the way till the time they're 18. Some may come in at 18 and still want additional guidance into manhood. So it's really a passage from childhood to manhood is the path that we take them on.
And you're building a bond.
Oh, absolutely.
You're building a bond with them so they know they have somebody.
And a big part of that was we didn't want to drop them after we accomplished the camp. So we developed a follow-up program to where we consistently stay in contact for 5 years after they attend our camp. In fact, our last group in November of 19 And then COVID hit, so it slowed us down just a tad.
Yeah.
We weren't able to have any more camps, but we have met with the kids. We've been in touch with the kids quarterly. They text us from time to time. We email, we tell them things we're doing. And in fact, 2 weeks ago over at Getson Dana Park, we just had a barbecue for them.
I saw that.
We tried to social distance at a barbecue, and no one got sick, so we felt really good about it.
There you go.
But it worked really well.
Park is a good place for that.
Absolutely.
Getting together. So it doesn't matter, like 13 to 17, doesn't matter where they are. It's all about just taking kids, boys in that age group, and building a bond with them to help them grow into strong young men.
Absolutely. If we can address them now and win them over and put them on a path to manhood through a personal relationship with Christ, we have such a great chance of having an incredible impact on them. And having that constant contact month after month and quarterly and different events, and then eventually like to bring some of them back to be our mentor assistants.
So they can take what they learned, and that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, so here's the personal experience I went through. You know, I can now go back and say I was one of these guys back in the day, and I struggled with these exact same things you guys struggled with. So here's how I want to pour back into you and give back to God and give back to the community too.
So you mentioned camps. What kind of things do you do with the kids that are there?
Since our property's not ready yet, we decided we would go rent a camp, and we rented Lakeview last year over here in Maypearl. And they had a facility where they have a gymnasium that we could actually use. So we did midnight dodgeball. That was one of our events. We have a mercy seat situation where if there's something you need to say and get off your chest, and you're not comfortable maybe saying it to anyone at home, your peers or your friends, you can actually just come sit in a mercy seat and talk a little bit about, hey, here's a confession I have, I did this, and I have some issues, and I really want some assistance or prayer to deal with it. So we do that and break up the time a little bit. Kind of like a scavenger hunt.
I bet that was fun.
It was. And one of the guys on our board is ex-military, so he would say I'm never ex-military, but you know, was in the military and had this incredible land navigation thing planned out. We had to modify it a little bit because we're dealing with 13 to 17-year-old boys, but it was amazing to watch a couple of kids that we pair up, because we also give them an accountability partner for life, and watch a couple of kids that we paired up with the mentors and mentors assistants have to get from here to across the street to this point over here by following a map and using a compass. And at every point they would earn a coin that was all parts of the armor of God that we would teach them a lesson about later on. So everything we tried to do in an activity tied into something that was also a lesson. Here's why we did this, and here's what this represents, and here's how this is practical application for something in your life today.
Nice.
So there were a lot of other things that we did, actual events, cornhole stuff, kind of horseshoe things, different things like that. Always looking for new ideas on what to do. The kids actually make these bracelets, which is really kind of cool. They begin to love these things when they make them. And each one of our groups, we only take 10 teens at a time, so they get one-on-one focus from one mentor and one mentor assistant.
That's awesome. That's a great bonding experience for them too. So.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, you've mentioned the land where you're going to have the camp. Tell me a little bit about that.
I bought the 40 acres of property after praying with my wife, just pretty much on a whim of, here's the vision, what do I go do now? And then we acquired within a few months after that the adjoining property, which gave us a total of 70 acres. And in time, we want to develop that property to where the land navigation would actually happen on that property. We have tons of evergreens, and it's just beautiful landscape property. There's a creek that runs through it, so we can do different events. Pending the finances, hopefully maybe put a zip line in, a rock wall type situation. Right now, the kids can come out. In fact, our next event is we're trying to plan just a camp with tents. So they'll come out, just camp out one night. We built a 10-foot by 10-foot fire pit out there where they can come out, tell stories, hang out, shoot the breeze, you know, do what boys do.
Spend time together. And
spend time together.
Yeah.
You know, and at the same time, we spend quality time. We don't just talk about what's going on in your world and how's your family. We want to share our personal experiences.
That's awesome. What a great thing. That, you know, in today's world where there's so many kids that, don't have necessarily a really great family unit, or maybe they don't have both parents at home, or maybe they don't have parents at home, they're living with grandparents or extended family or somebody else's family.
Right.
And just in the craziness of the world, not even just 2020, but just in the craziness of the world that we have today, it's a great thing for there to be people out there who are willing to, help our young men become the great young men that they can be. Because I think sometimes that's lost in today's world, and it's definitely something that is needed. So I'm excited that we get to put it out there, that, share the story, let people know, hey, this is something that's going on, this is something that's out there. If you need help, or somebody that needs help, or you want to help, how can people get in touch with you guys?
A couple ways. The most important and probably the easiest is moretimeranch.org, and it's MOORE ranch.org. That's the easiest way. You can go to our website. You can read a little bit more about our story, how we began. You can look at a couple of the mentors and the board of directors, learn a little bit about them individually so you know where we all came from and how we got here. Donations always greatly accepted.
Do you guys do any kind of fundraisers, or is there merchandise or anything like that that people can support you guys with?
All the above. So we've done a couple events. We had a garage sale where we had a lot of people just donate items.
Yeah.
We did pretty well with the garage sale. We tried that before. We did a barbecue, and actually the Avenue Church allowed us to use their parking lot year before last. So we did a barbecue last year. We're working on possibly a crawfish boil when COVID is over, because that was all planned for this year. We actually had a 1956 model GT convertible car donated to our nonprofit with the special instructions to use it for a year for all of our events, and then we can sell it and the proceeds would go towards the nonprofit. So we're going to try and tie that into some type of event.
Well, there you have it, folks. If it's one of those places that you're on Facebook and you're looking around, check them out. I know you got a Facebook page.
More Time Ranch.
And you share a lot of good pictures and things like that of the events and things that they do. If you know somebody that's looking for support or needs help, there's a great group of guys that are out there looking to help young boys and teenage boys that, might need a little extra care, might need some more time. So check them out, moretimeranch.org. If you can help in some way, if you know of a media person or you have a little extra money that you want to donate, it's a great place that'll go to help do great things and just be amazing to help our young men. I love that idea. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you guys. We appreciate the opportunity very much.
Well, I appreciate hearing your story and knowing all about it. I think that's great. I'm excited to be able to share it. So there you have it, folks. Bye, y'all.